Nothing happens in this world by accident. Christmas time is here. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. I do truly appreciate it. It's an odd time. Things are kind of odd forever. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I got a book in the mailbox. And in fact, this is a book that I put on my Christmas list to Mrs. Claus. And she, in my house, I kind of go by the name Santa sometimes. And so the wife obviously would be Mrs. Claus. Although in real life, as well as in my house, Mrs. Claus does every bit amount of Christmas present delivering, probably more than Mr. Claus. But anyway, we still go by that. Mrs. Claus hooked a brother up. I already showed you one of the presents that Mrs. Claus got for me. And here's another one. This one was another thing that I asked for, put it on the list. She checked it twice. Turns out I was at least nice enough to get some things. She took good care. This one came directly from a company called Charnel House. Ever hear of it? Well, I have, and I've gotten some books from these folks. Got a couple here. One is called Watchers. One is called Odd Thomas. And I wanted Forever Odd. And it turns out on their website, they still somehow, after all these years, had at least a copy still in stock. And we'll see what it looks like, because that's what I asked for. And since I got a package from them, I'm assuming that may be what I got. So let's get to it. Let's open her up. And I want to say I read Odd Thomas probably 2006. And then maybe the next year, maybe 2006, I read Forever Odd. I read a few of the Odd Thomas books, and I really like the character. I really like the town of Pico Mundo. I've always been, not always, but I'm a Dean Koontz fan. I have honestly never read a Dean Koontz book that I didn't like. So I figured, hey, I ought to at least get another one of these odd books from Charnel House. And I did get, like I said, I got Odd Thomas up here. I've done a video for that. I'll put a link in the comment, or a link in the description. So if you want to see that, you can pull it up and watch that video if you're so inclined. And let's take a look and see what the sequel was all about. This was I really liked Odd Thomas. Forever Odd, I would say, was every bit as good as Odd Thomas. And I can't remember at what point, but at some point I kind of, maybe it was just exhaustion or fatigue, and I found myself reading one, and it could be things that are going on in my life or whatever, I don't know. It's been a while now. But I was reading one of the books in the series, and I just kind of lost interest. So I didn't read any more after that. But I need to pick it back up. The problem is a series that you've been so long away from, it's kind of hard to figure out how to get back in the groove. I need to get back in the groove and read about it. But here it is, Forever Odd. Now, you wouldn't know it by looking at it because like the others that I showed you here, the spine shows a symbol or a small item or object, and that's it. And that's cool, man. I wouldn't want a whole collection of books with spines that don't tell you what the book is. But for an occasional item, which is what for me Charnel House is, an occasional item, and really it's only been Dean Koontz that I purchased from them, it's neat. It's kind of cool. And you can see right away that this is not your ordinary book. Now, Odd Thomas was very, very tall, and Forever Odd is as well. So it will match up good with that. Again, another interesting decision. But hey, it's one that they did. But here is a nice, very plain, but high quality slipcase. And I love slipcases. Most of them are not this long and lean, but we do have one or two that are. And when you got books that are this tall, it really forces you to be particular about where you put the book. I got no shelf that's tall enough for this, so it ended up having me put Dean Koontz up here on the top because there is a lot of room there, and that's where this one will go as well. But with the Charnel House books, you get quality cloth covered boards. All of them that I have are like that, and you can see the design. There's nothing on the front or back or spine of this book that tells you what is in it. And here we can look at the end papers. Look at there. There are our end papers and just neat stuff. Now, I already showed you Odd Thomas, so I kind of knew what to expect when I got here. And there's, you can, very slight, very faint. You can read there on the front page, the first page there. And there we are, Forever Odd, Dean Koontz, 2005. And I don't know how that worked out, but published in 2005, and here it is, 2023. And I was still able to get a copy. And with Odd Thomas, there were I don't think there were interior illustrations in here. But I'm just going to show you a little bit of what the book looks like inside if you wanted to read this edition. So very generous on the margins. The text looks very cool. It is bold. It is very easy to read. And I dig it. So if you're going to read this book, it is a little stiff. If you read your limited edition books, you want to be careful reading a limited edition like this where it doesn't, I don't know, you're going to figure it out. Anyway, it looks good. I like it. I like what they do. And I wanted the book. Dean Koontz, one of his most popular series. I don't know. I'll tell you now, I'm not going to buy them all. I don't want them all. But the first few of the series, if I like it, I tend to get, if the series doesn't go on too long, I tend to stick with it. But there are some series, for example, Janet Ivanovich, Stephanie Plum series. I've loved every one of those books I've read. I read the first 14, as well as some of the Between the Numbers books, but I'm not going to have 30-something. I don't know. She's up to 30-something. I'm not going to have 30-something books in a series in my collection. Shelf space is more valuable than money half the time for a book collector. So I got to be very careful with that. This book, the signature page is in the back, almost all the way to the back. Not all the way, but there it is, signed in person by Dean Koontz. Forever Odd in a deluxe limited edition of 300 numbered 26 lettered copies, each signed by the author. This book is copy number 13. Go figure. Ain't that something else? Look at there. Lucky number 13. Sat on the shelf all these years, only to go in my collection. If you asked me which number I wanted, and I made you a list, that would have been one of the cool ones to be able to choose. Now I'm just flipping through here to make sure I'm not missing anything of interest to show you. What I have is a very nice edition, classically designed, quality materials of a book that I wanted. And I think that's about all I have to show you. I will show you I didn't look at there. What does it look like? Look at our binding. So it is a Smith sewn binding with colored in bands. And it's good stuff. I knew what I was getting, and I was glad to be able to get it. So thank you to the wife for hooking a brother up. Thank you to Charnel House, and of course, thank you to our good friend Odd Thomas of Pico Mundo. Good luck, brother. Thank you to Dean Koontz. I can think of no more lies to tell. So thank you for your time. I do truly appreciate it, and say la vie, baby. Do-do. 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 Ah, where's it gonna go? Do-do-do. Do-do. 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 Darn.